A pleasure to meet all at last, and it's time for some more HJN Season 5. And what better way to follow up with the likes of Joy, Augmentation, and the other 3 subjects currently associated with this season than to, of course, talk a bit about segments for 2668. Yeah, some might wonder what that has to do with countdowns and Joy, or Augmentation, anything really that I've currently talked about. Well, first off, segments is more of an appropriate terminology used as a means to describe everything I had just gone through. Every episode feels like a segment of my life that I have documented on this camera and uploaded it to the internet as a means to explain to people exactly how many things in my life have turned out. It doesn't matter if they're high or low, good years and bad years, good things or bad things as a whole will indefinitely happen. And it doesn't really matter how, when, or why they occur. But really, segments are more so a means of interconnecting things together. And while segments are typically referring to the individual pieces of your daily life, or it could be an object in particular, such as a chain, for instance. Yeah, you remember those plastic chains in which they connect to each other and form a long chain? That alone was a pretty fun toy from like 20-something years ago. Even more so when you come to realize that like those kind of chains, like those kind of toys that you'd interconnect with each other as a means of getting creative or just having some fun and killing time while in the house. If you weren't outside, of course, as many of us would be today. But here's the thing about segments. Another correlation that I can put together is that, corrigibly speaking, segments are a good usage of my time. Whether it be to put together a certain project or a whole series of which is typically how I've done things on YouTube since 2008. But really, what's this all about? Well, the thing is that the many things I've done since August of 2019, when I at least first came up with the general idea of creating a series based on how I have felt about life and the many subjects commonly associated with such things. The thing is that while I have garnered some feedback, whether positive or negative, it doesn't really matter at this point. And that's mostly because I left the community monitoring to some friends of mine. It just goes to show that Kaiju Force Neo is a project that's never a one-person operation. And this YouTube channel is actually the work of 24 people right now, 7 different countries. So you can talk about the fact that this channel is more than just a worldwide project. It's the collaborative efforts of many people, and every individual person is indeed a segment to such a massive project. Whether it happened on YouTube or otherwise, segments as we see it can always correlate to whatever we find to be individual, interlinking with each other. And of course, with an end goal in mind, these segments shall formulate into one uniform system. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if it's a bunch of chains coming together to make a bigger chain, or vehicles interlinking to create one large consist, like a train. Or it could be a large amount of furniture that's fused together to make one giant piece. If you're familiar with Lovesac Sactionals, for instance, they are one of those types of furniture made to interconnect with each other to go from a small chair to an entire giant sofa system. As some people have found it to be more modular to interconnect these pieces with each other. But as we know it, we can interconnect them in any way that we like nowadays. Sometimes they can be used to create a bed, sometimes you can use them for movie seating, and there are ways to have customization go even beyond such normal levels. Get a little crazy with them even. That's why we gotta love today's tech and all the ideas associated with it. But these are more or less just segments of life itself that ultimately build up to an even bigger picture. A painting of the future that many people will either love or hate, or be indifferent about it, much like myself. Because I certainly am not surprised that electric cars are finally making headway in order to becoming the next best thing to the car, truck, or any other known fossil fuel powered vehicle. If EVs are really going to be the next wavelength to driving on the roads or the interstates, they could at least figure out a good way to make them not only affordable, but also practical, in a sense that fuel mileage and economy, as well as a full charge, can guarantee the best distance until it needs to be recharged. Not to mention, if they could have a lot more charging stations, not just exclusive to Tesla, but also to many other EVs out there, since Tesla's not the only variety of EV that we know about, then I'm sure a lot of things would be a lot better. Maybe give it 5 years, and I'm sure a lot of change will come through. Positive, negative, who really knows? In any case, though, I've had a lot to say about this subject, carrying over to around 6.5 minutes of my time. But I feel like that with tomorrow's subject, we'll probably have even more to share. So make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.